I made 24 zines in 2024. Let's have a look at them. Hi everyone, if you're new here, my name is Sally and I'm a mixed media artist in Australia. And if you're not new here, welcome back. This is the last, actually, this is going to be published on the 1st of January 2025. So happy new year, everybody. I thought I would take this opportunity to have a look back at my year in zines. So January 2024 is the first time I started making zines. And now I make 2 zines every month. They get sent out to my Ko-fi members as soon as they're published. So I want to take this opportunity to thank my beautiful Ko-fi members now for all your support throughout 2024. It has really meant the world to me. I put a lot of time and work into my zines, which hopefully will be evident when I show them to you. It really means the world to me to have this monthly ongoing support from you all, and I cannot thank you enough. Every month I make the main A6 size zine and then the accompanying mini, which is a companion to this. The mini zine is only available to my Ko-fi members, and then the main zine is available in the shop after it's published and sent out to my members. So I really wanted to do a flip through of all the zines, explain to you what my ideas and motivation was behind making all of them, and yeah, hopefully inspire you to also make a zine or check out my memberships to get them sent to you every month. I really love making them, and I really can't wait to share with you the entirety of my year in zines. So let's start flipping through. Okay, issue number 1. So I always knew that I wanted issue number 1 to be sort of a snapshot of me at the time when I first discovered zines. So that was back in the 90s. And I found an old school book that had a bunch of sketches. Like, this is a pen sketch that I did of Kurt Cobain in 1994 when he passed away, and my reflections on that, and just like the music that I was into at the time. So this has pieces of actual writing from me in the 90s. And yeah, I dedicated this first issue to my baby boy Butters. So this is my master copy. This is where I did all my physical collage. And then the mini zine was a visual lyric book based on songs on my playlist. So the playlist was actually an actual playlist of a radio show that I did with my sister in the 90s, and so I used those songs as inspiration to do collages. And now we have issue 2, and again, this is my master copy. This is where I did all the physical writing and collage, and I actually made a sticker specifically for this issue, and I handmade these little envelopes to stick in the front cover, so everyone got a little sticker in their issue. And this was the Neon Goth issue, and Neon Goth to me is like my art style, but it's also the movies that influence me and the music that I'm into. So I did some collage and critiques on a couple of my favorite movies, Blue Velvet and Videodrome. And I included this painting from Suspiria, and we've got a crossword here, which is all related to all things neon goth. There's my Videodrome spread, so it's just snapshots from the movie and my critiques. And then I hand wrote some lyrics from a Chelsea Wolfe song and stuck that in there, and then I added my playlist. So that was a really fun issue. And for the mini zine, I took some of my old live music photos and I just added them, things that sort of had neon type lights in them, and I added those and put those into the mini zine. That was a really fun issue. I loved making that one. And then we have issue 3. Now, issue 3 was a very personal issue, and this was my reflections on grief, all different kinds of grief, and like lockdowns and that sort of thing. So I was a live music photographer pre-2020, and then when I couldn't shoot shows because everything got shut down, I started doing these double exposure photos. So these are all self-portraits and all double exposure with all just the plants that were in my yard, and just some writing that very lightly scratches the surface of my experience working with the public, living with my immunocompromised dad. And yeah, it was a really tough time. So I sort of made this zine to have a little tribute to one of the toughest times of my life. And I did this transparent overlay, which I did some blind contour drawing on. And this was my copy that I've kept. The ones that went out to my members were of much better quality than that one. This was sort of like a misprint, so I kept that. And here is my master copy of the mini zine, which again was some collage, a poem, and some blind contour drawing. Now, here's the fun issue. After all the heaviness of my grief, we went into the Garfield issue. I had to make a zine about Garfield. So issue 4 was dedicated to my favorite orange guy, Garfield. There's a little story about my crush on John Bon Jovi and how I wore a Garfield jumper to my first Bon Jovi show because I wanted to make a good impression. And this one actually came about because I had a dream that Garfield was in my landscape photography. So these photos were all actual landscape photos that I'd taken in the past. We also have the birth of the icon black metal Garfield, who is now a car air freshener and a sticker. So these have been doing really well in the shop, and it was the most fun thing that I made all year, definitely. I loved making that. So yeah, I had this dream that Garfield was in my landscape photography. So I scanned all these like pictures that I'd taken at Monument Valley and cut out old Garfield comics and did collage on top. And this was a really fun issue. The playlist was all food related, and I'll show you my master copy here, and so you can see how I added some things in digitally. Like sometimes I don't make the whole thing physically. So I actually just stuck in the pieces of cartoon where I wanted it. And then once I'd scanned those into my computer, I take it into Procreate and just add in all the other elements around it and any writing that I just want to handwrite or anything like that. So sometimes my zines are a mix of both, and I do them differently every time. And the mini zine was just a lasagna recipe because Garfield loves lasagna and I love lasagna. So I made a little lasagna recipe for everyone because we should be making lasagna, not war. Issue number 5, I was starting to play around a little bit more with doing digital art, and so I was doing some digital illustrations and then adding in song lyrics around them. So I've been really interested in snake art all year, doing lots and lots of snakes in my sketchbook and that sort of thing. So this issue was a lot of hands holding snakes. And yeah, the playlist was just all the songs that I'd included the lyrics of around the artwork. And the mini, I actually made a video about making this mini zine. This again was song lyrics from a High on Fire song. And again, we have the snake, and I'll link that video so you can watch that whole thing. It was with issue 6 that I started outsourcing my printing instead of printing at home. And the reason I did this is because print costs were getting a bit unmanageable. The amount of ink that I had to supply, it was working out to be like I would run out of ink at the end of each month. So I would print, I think I send out 17 zines now. So it was like 17 of this size and then 17 minis. And I was running out of ink at the end of printing all of those. Perfume membership pricing is for print costs, and postage is included in that as well. And I was just finding that what I was getting from memberships was just going to that, and there was nothing left over. And I don't do this as my full-time job, obviously. I mean, it would be nice, but the amount of time and work that I put into the zines, there wasn't anything left over at all for me. So I actually decided to outsource the printing, which I didn't think would be more cost effective, but it actually has worked out to be that. So that was a nice surprise. So I'm now getting my zines printed with Mix'em every month, and I will link their website down below if you'd like to check it out. They do all kinds of different printing. So while I personally really love like the DIY lo-fi quality of my hand printed zines, the Mix'em zines has allowed me to include more photography in my zines because the quality is much more high res. Like, I can do good printing. My print is amazing, but just like for printing on plain paper, doing sort of high res reproductions of artwork and photography especially is not to the standard that does those artworks or photos any justice, like I don't think. Yeah, now that I am outsourcing my printing, like I never would have been able to do this issue at home in a cost-effective way at all. But outsourcing it to Mix'em has allowed me to have these beautiful reproductions of my photography work, and to a standard that I'm happy to send out worldwide and have people read. So that was the reason I started with issue 6, and I have not looked back. Mix'em will be doing all of my printing from now on. I still print the minis at home. I actually really love putting the zines together, so I have sort of missed, you know, putting all the pages together and stapling and all that sort of thing. So I still do the minis at home. I always will. Now we're going to look at zines 6 through 11 because I don't have 12 yet. I'll talk about that later, and you'll see how different they look compared to the first 5. So issue 6 is where I started getting them printed professionally. And so basically your master copy is the one, like your hard copy, your original copy. And that's where I do all my physical work, like that's physical painting and collage and writing. And then once I scan all that in and send the files off, here is the printed copy. So they did such a good job replicating all my artwork and having the files really clean and crisp, and the images are perfect. And this was a really important issue that had been on my mind as well. This was an issue about activism, the state of the world, just my thoughts on different ways to use your voice, even if you're not comfortable speaking on particular issues. The middle spread there, the centerfold, was you don't have to be perfect, just like doing something is better than doing nothing. So this whole issue was sort of about that, and I think it's definitely reflected in the art style. It's like quite dark, but you know, it's hopeful. There's actual ideas and things to do here. The playlist was some anti-war songs from the 60s that are still relevant. And the mini zine is Palestinian writer Rifat Al-Ari's poem, "If I must die, you must live to tell my story, to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings. Make it white with a long tail so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a blaze and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a story." And it was really important for me to include that in the issue. Next up, we have a zine dedicated to my all-time favorite, River Phoenix. So with this zine, this is a huge tribute to River. I critiqued and talked about most of his movies, and it was so fun preparing for this. Just watching all his movies again was amazing. I had the best time. That was a really good month. So yeah, I critiqued all his movies and added little images that I took, photos of the screen. That's how I like to take my reference photos for doing artwork as well. My Own Private Idaho, got the centerfold. I had lots to write about that one, and also Dogfight. I could do individual zines on those 2 movies alone. I also included some writing on his music and his activism, and I put some QR codes in this issue as well with links to full, like this one was a full essay that he wrote for World Earth Day. And I was just always inspired by him growing up and the way that he used his voice to speak on all the issues that were important to him. So the playlist was music from him, but also music that was inspired by him. And for the mini zine, I did a breakdown of the entire campfire scene in My Own Private Idaho. If you have seen it, you know that this is just such an incredible scene in this beautiful movie, and it's so emotional and so touching, and it's incredible. So yeah, I can't say that enough. I will say it again and again. So the whole mini zine was just about that one scene. And I also have a membership tier that gets an art print, and those members got a print of this painting portrait that I did of River, which I am obsessed with. Now, issue 8 was the biggest issue that I've done, and this is all my live music photography. Not all of it, but the whole issue is live music photography. So there was a festival in the US that I used to cover each year called Psycho, and I shot that fest 2015 to 2019. So these were some of my favorite shots from all the years of the festivals that I went to. And it could have been twice this size, this issue. Like, I could make a whole book. I definitely want to do more photography-based zines in the future. And yeah, I couldn't have gotten, like I said before, this kind of quality photos from printing the zine at home on plain paper. Like, I'm so glad that I found Mixam and that they've been able to do these incredible reproductions of my photos justice. So I included some little memories. It's mostly visual and photos, but I did include some of my memories of the festival. And I also got some of my friends, because I met people from all around the world and stayed in touch with these people at the festivals. And I also got them to include some little stories. So that was really fun. And it was really bittersweet putting this issue together, because I absolutely loved my work as a live music photographer, and I got to travel the world, and I got some incredible experiences, met the most amazing people. And yeah, I just added a crossword which is based on some of the bands featured in the zine, and I had to include Butters, who went to Andrew WK. That was a really fun moment. And the mini zine for this issue was just a gigantic playlist that I made with one song from every band featured in the zine. I picked my favorite song and added them to this gigantic playlist with an important message on the back. If you have the ability to do these things, buy tickets, go to shows, purchase physical media. Then we go into issue 9, which is another really fun one. This is the Showgirls issue, one of my favorite movies. And I actually did a lot of physical art for this one. I did all these little character studies in alcohol markers. These are all the smaller characters in the movie. And then for the main characters, I really wanted to do a focus on Nomi Malone's makeup looks. So I did all these watercolor and pencil portraits of Nomi, and then also the other main characters in the film. And once I had done all these physical art, and you can see, like, I did a lot, and I also did a couple of sketchbook spreads as well. So there was a lot of art in this issue. And once I had photographed all of them and sent those files to my computer, I then added it into Procreate and added in all my text. And this is what it turned out like. So I sort of had a vision. I knew I wanted to have a big focus on Nomi's different makeup looks because it's quite an important element of the movie that I don't really see anyone talk about. And for the centerfold here, this was actually an acrylic painting that I did because I wanted to have this just to be a really full art-packed issue. And there's a lot of writing in here as well. I talk a lot about my feelings about the film and its legacy, because it was known as the worst movie ever made, but it's really not. It's incredible. It's so fun. And there's a lot of layers and I get more out of it every time I watch it. But yeah, I did these character studies of Nomi with her different makeup looks because they change a lot depending on what she's about to do and how she's feeling. And the playlist in this issue was songs from the soundtrack. And then the mini zine that accompanied this, this was just my copy that I kept, but I actually had a little picture of Nomi in there. So when you open up the curtains, she's in there in her Versace dress. And this is collage that I did digitally, and it's actually the chronicle, like the timeline of the movie start to finish. And here is my most popular zine that I've made, the horror heroines. And I'm so glad this has had such a great reception. It's been selling out in my shop, which is really great. I did 14 full acrylic painting portraits for this zine, and it was a lot of work. I reckon with all the painting that I did, plus all the writing, it was about 100 hours that I put into this zine. So I'm really glad that people want to read it. And I'm really proud of this issue. I love the way it came together. It was exactly how I envisioned it. And my art print members got a print of the Carrie painting. So now I have this huge stack of horror portraits that I don't know what to do with. I kind of want to do like a little exhibition with them before I just add them to my web shop. I don't know. So this issue was all about horror heroines. So I wanted to pay tribute to all the women who actually survived in horror movies. And this is not a definitive list. It could literally be twice the size of this. I physically couldn't do more paintings. So this was just, let's say this is part 1, and there's probably going to be a part 2 in the future. And I wanted this one to come out in October for spooky season. So I made sure that my members got it in the mail. Well, the Australian members got it in the mail before Halloween. So they had a little movie playlist. And yeah, I really love this zine. I did all the red on the sides in ink on physical paper, and then I scanned all those pages in and then photographed the artwork and added those in next to it. So it was a lot of physical work and then digital elements to bring it all together. And the mini zine was all dedicated to Carrie because, unfortunately, spoiler, she didn't survive, but she is the true horror heroine. So she got the mini and the art print. And then issue 11, again, was a lot of physical art. This was the 31 birds that I painted for Birdtober. And my Art Lover members got a print of this Australian raven, which was my favorite of the series that I did. And the zine is all of the 31 birds. And I really like seeing this all as a full collection published. I didn't write too much in this zine. I let it just be sort of a focus on the birds. And it's really nice to see it all in a full collection published that you can just flick through and enjoy some Australian birds, some of our local icons. So I did 31 Australian birds for Birdtober. And I actually had taken this actual photo of a tawny frogmouth and I used that as reference for the painting. So I included that on the back of the zine. And the mini, which was a really fun one to make, this is one of my favorites of the year, is birds in film. So I did Hitchcock's The Birds, Black Swan, The Crow, Storm Boy. We also had Birdemic, which I don't know if you've seen it, it's the worst. Twin Peaks and Pink Flamingos. So some images from the films and a little critique written by me. And that brings us to issue 12. Now, Mixam's running late with the printing, so I don't have the printed copies yet, but this is my master copy. So this is the physical copy that is my original. And then I scan in all the pages and make sure they're all print ready. So this is a zine that is all blackout poetry, which I had not experimented with until very, very recently. And this was really fun to make. So I did the blackout poetry with some collage elements, and I really like this zine, and I think it flows and tells a story. I think I'm keen to get the feedback about this one. And I just used an old abstract painting for the cover and just stuck everything else on top. So this is the last zine for the year. And then the mini, again, is just some ink splotches, some collage, and some blackout poetry. And I really like this mini zine as well. So yeah, those will be getting sent out soon as I've got the main ones in my hand. And this is the 24 zines that I made this year. As you can see, it's kept me really, really busy. I do put a lot of work into each issue, and I love having it different every month. And you know, just sharing the things that I'm really passionate about and the things that I'm interested in, what I'm feeling, and my responses to the world. So I really hope that you enjoyed having a look through all the zines. Let me know which ones you would like to read, and if you are now thinking about making zines. Highly recommend it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and consider subscribing to the channel for more art stuff. I don't really make a lot of videos that are about making zines. There are a bunch of channels on YouTube that do. One specifically that comes to mind is Bratty Bree. Her videos on zine making are phenomenal and so super inspiring. So if you're interested in learning about how to make a zine, I would go check out her videos. And once again, I want to thank my amazing Ko-fi members for all your support this year. It really has made a huge difference. Some of you may or may not know, I am struggling with long COVID. So any financial support is beyond helpful right now. And I know how tough it is for everybody. And I just want to say I'm super, super grateful. It really actually does make a huge difference to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Just being here and watching my videos all the way through is another amazing way to help me and support the channel, and that costs you nothing. I'm always here to share my process and inspiration about things, and I cannot wait to get stuck into all of the art that I'm going to make for 2025. So happy new year everyone. I hope it's a really fantastic year for us all, and I will see you next time. Bye.